Hi Mud, this is my cheat sheet for Friday, February the 10th. Have some decent news here with regard to household income. Been talking about how the real cost of inflation has been really bad news for us over the past couple of years because especially food and energy costs have been rising. And at the same time, we hadn't been growing our own income. That changed. We just received data for the fourth quarter of 2011, and then the median household income was actually up 4%. That is the first time since December of 2007 it hasn't been negative at the end of a quarter. Literally, quarter after quarter, household income was going backwards. Now, we still are seeing household income down 7% from its all-time high, which was leading up to the fourth quarter of 2007. And it's even actually down still close to 4% since the recession officially ended in the summer of 2009. But make no mistake, before you get to a better place in the economy, you've got to stop the bleeding. And that's what happened here. And actually, a 4% bump up in one quarter is a decent turnaround any way you slice it. So we certainly have a lot of real issues in front of us, none the least of which is the rising cost of food, energy, healthcare, things of that nature. But if we can continue to move off of that household income number in the fourth quarter of last year, there is a lot of ray of sunshine there for a better day in the economy, especially in your pocketbook. Speaking of which, let's talk about what's inside the mortgage settlement for you. These things are always complicated and hard to understand. The one thing that's going to be a little bit different than this, than some of the other mortgage programs you've heard, is that it has nothing to do with Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, and it has nothing to do with the government administering a program. This was a settlement between big banks and the government at the state level, not even the federal level. The feds kind of regulated things, but the states. For example, Florida gets the second biggest lump payout of this entire deal. Florida will get $350 million just for its role in having to deal with all of this, plus our legal expenses covered. But what it actually means to you, here's the timeline. We now know what homes will potentially be eligible. First off, your loan has to be held by one of these banks. Bank of America, Chase, Citi, Wells, or Ally Financial. No other banks were covered in the settlement. The timeline we're talking about is 2008 through 2011. It looks like homes that were in distress in that time frame, or were loans that were originated even potentially during that time frame, could be eligible for various pieces of this. 2008 through 2011, and that includes, by the way, homes that were foreclosed during that period of time. The first thing is principal reductions. There are billions of dollars that have been set aside for overall principal reductions. We don't know exactly how much and exactly how all that's going to work yet, but there could be the chance that if you fit that time frame and you have one of those banks, you might be set up for possible principal reduction. The next thing is refining an underwater mortgage. There are billions more that have been set aside for people who otherwise are current on their payments, are able to go ahead and make payments under refi, to have the ability to do so at lower rates. And one-time payments. The whole robo-signing thing, how can we forget, right? Well, people that ended up losing their homes in foreclosure during the robo-signing era, anyone who was deemed to have been wronged, victimized, in other words, paperwork improperly filed, not all the docs there, are set to receive one-time checks of $2,000. So you could have had a home foreclosed, for example, during the course of 2008. If the procedure was incorrect and it was by one of those banks, a $2K check could show up in the mail. Yeah, not a bad day, right? So that is just a little bit of the overview of it. We'll get into more as we know exact specifics about the principal reduction and such. For now, enjoy your weekend. We shall see you on Monday.